The crash shook the ground like thunder. Smoke and sparks filled the sky as the little shuttle tumbled across the jagged rocks of the alien planet. Leora's small hands scraped against metal and stone as she crawled out, coughing and blinking through the haze. Her heart pounded. "Mom? Dad?" she called, her voice trembling, but only the wind answered. A sharp, piercing screech split the air, making her freeze. Shadows moved across the broken landscape, fast and spiky, like needles scraping stone. Something was coming, and it was close. Leora's instinct screamed at her to hide, but her legs refused to move. Her curiosity, her need to see, overpowered fear. Then she saw it. A creature no bigger than a dog, yet terrifying beyond words. Its scales shimmered with a strange blue-green glow, and jagged spikes ran down its back like knives. Its eyes were bright amber, intelligent and curious, staring straight at her. It hissed, a sharp, rattling sound that made her ears ring. Leora swallowed hard. Most children would have screamed. She felt the pull of fear, but also a strange, sudden warmth. "You're cute," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The words stumbled out before she could stop them, innocent and fearless. The hatchling blinked, head tilting. For a heartbeat, it seemed to hesitate, as if trying to understand what she meant. Then it stepped forward. Slowly. Tentatively. Leora's chest tightened. Her small mind raced. She could run, but the creature might attack. She could hide, but the hatchling could sense her. Instead, she stayed, crouched low, holding out her hands. "It's okay," she said, her voice steadying. "I won't hurt you." The hatchling sniffed the air, tilting its head again. Sparks flew from its scales when it moved. Leora's fingers brushed against its jagged tail accidentally, and it flinched, but didn't strike. Relief and a little thrill surged through her chest. She had made contact. She had survived. Somehow. A sudden roar from the cliffs above made her jump. Rock and debris tumbled down toward them. Leora grabbed the hatchling, pulling it close. Its tiny claws dug into her arms, not in aggression but fear. The glow from its scales bathed her face in shifting colors. She realized it wasn't just afraid of her, it was terrified of something else, something bigger. "Don't worry," she whispered, rocking slightly. "We'll be okay." Her words felt small against the noise of the world, yet the hatchling stiffened, ears flicking, eyes watching. Then it made a sound, a soft, almost musical trill, and it pressed closer, curling partially around her arm. Leora felt her chest swell. Even in terror she had made a friend. Suddenly shadows moved faster than she could track. From the jagged rocks, two forms emerged, lithe alien creatures taller than any human she had ever imagined, with black scales that shimmered like oil. Their claws dug into stone as they prowled toward them, eyes fixed on the hatchling. Leora's mind raced. She had to act now. Without thinking, she sprinted toward a narrow crevice in the cliffside, pulling the hatchling with her. The alien predators hissed and charged, claws scraping against stone. Leora's small legs pounded, heart hammering, sweat stinging her eyes. She had no plan, only determination. She had to survive. She had to protect this strange, fragile creature that had chosen her in that terrifying moment. Inside the crevice, the space was tight, jagged walls pressing close. Leora pressed the hatchling to her chest. Its glow pulsed softly, almost like it was breathing in sync with her. A small sense of relief washed over her, a tiny victory in the chaos. They were safe for now. But then a rumble shook the ground beneath them. Dust fell from above. Leora's eyes widened. Something massive was moving. She could hear it, a deep, rolling growl that made her stomach flip. The hatchling stiffened against her, claws gripping tighter. Leora swallowed hard, whispering, "We can do this. We have to." The rumble grew louder. The shadows from the rocks twisted into shapes she couldn't yet understand. The hatchling's eyes glowed brighter, reflecting fear and recognition. It hissed sharply, not at her, but toward the darkness beyond the crevice. Leora's pulse raced. She didn't know what waited, only that whatever it was coming, and it would not stop. She pressed the hatchling closer. "I've got you," she said, voice trembling but fierce. "No one hurts you. Not on my watch." A sudden flash of blue-green light burst from the hatchling's scales, illuminating the crevice in a glow that made shadows dance wildly. For a second, Leora thought she saw shapes moving in impossible ways, creatures, wings, claws, but they were gone the next heartbeat. She blinked, heart racing. Something watched them from the darkness. Something massive. Something that knew her. And it was coming closer. Leora pressed the hatchling closer to her chest, feeling its tiny heartbeat hammer against her arms. The glow of its scales lit the crevice in shifting blues and greens, painting shadows on the jagged walls. Outside, the deep growls of the predators echoed, bouncing off rock faces and making her chest tighten with every reverberation. She had no weapons, no backup, and barely enough strength to run. But she had something the predators didn't: courage, quick thinking, and the bond forming with this strange creature that had chosen her. She whispered, "We can move. We have to." The hatchling chirped softly, a small reassurance as if it understood. The shadows outside shifted again. The predators were moving closer, their claws scraping over stone, sharp and deliberate. Leora scanned the crevice looking for any way out. A narrow tunnel led deeper, just wide enough for her to squeeze through with the hatchling tucked in her arms. She didn't know where it went, but staying meant death. Decision made, she ducked into the tunnel. The hatchling stirred, its tail brushing against her cheek. Sparks flickered along its scales as if reacting to the predator's proximity. Leora's mind raced. She realized something: the creature wasn't just beautiful and strange, it had a power. Its glow could distract or confuse whatever hunted them. Maybe she could use it. Maybe they could survive. They moved quickly, rocks scraping her knees and elbows, the tunnel winding sharply. The predators followed, but the space was tight. One of the creatures hissed and tried to squeeze in, but its size made it awkward. Leora's stomach lurched at the thought of being caught, but the hatchling emitted a sudden, sharp trill. Sparks burst along its scales like tiny fireworks. The predator screeched and recoiled, leaving them a few precious moments of distance. "We're okay, for now," she whispered, feeling a surge of hope. The hatchling nudged her hand, almost encouraging her, and she smiled through her fear. Even in this alien world, even in the face of impossible odds, she was not alone. The tunnel widened into a cavern. Jagged stalactites hung above, dripping strange, acidic water into shallow pools. Leora had to step carefully; one slip could be fatal. She spotted a series of uneven ledges rising along the cavern wall. With the hatchling in her arms, she began climbing, each foothold shaky, each step a test of balance and courage. Halfway up, a loud scraping sound made her freeze. She looked down. One of the predators had somehow squeezed into the cavern, its eyes fixed on them, claws clicking against stone. Leora's heart raced. The hatchling's glow flickered, brightening and dimming with its agitation. She realized something incredible: the creature was trying to communicate, signaling danger and timing. Thinking fast, Leora ducked behind a large boulder, pressing herself and the hatchling flat against the stone. She could feel the predator's hot breath near her foot. Her chest tightened. One wrong move and they'd be caught. Then, almost instinctively, Leora held the hatchling out slightly. Its scales flared brilliantly, casting beams of light across the cavern. The predator hissed, shielding its eyes. Leora gritted her teeth, shoving herself and the hatchling forward while the creature remained exposed, using the glow as a living flashlight and distraction. Together, they bolted up the ledges, the predator stumbling in confusion. The climb was exhausting. Every movement required careful precision, her small arms straining to hold both the hatchling and herself on the slick rock. She could hear the predator behind, getting frustrated, growing louder. The cavern echoed with its screeches. Leora's mind raced. She had to find a way out, some place to hide, or this would be the end. Then she saw it, a narrow exit at the far side of the cavern, where the light of the alien sky peeked through. Freedom. But the last stretch was the most dangerous. She would have to leap across a gap of jagged stone, risking a fall, all while holding the hatchling. One misstep, one slip, and they'd both plummet. Leora inhaled sharply. Fear surged, but determination surged higher. She gripped the hatchling tightly, whispered, "We can do this. Trust me." With a running start, she leapt, landing hard but steady on the far ledge. The hatchling squealed in alarm but nestled closer, glowing fiercely. Leora's heart pounded, but she had done it. They had survived, again. The predators reached the edge of the cavern, snarling and clawing at the walls, but the ledge was too narrow. They couldn't follow. Leora pressed herself against the stone, breathing hard, shaking but alive. The hatchling pressed against her, its glow softening as if acknowledging their small victory. A brief moment of relief passed, enough for Leora to notice something strange. The hatchling's scales pulsed in a pattern, almost like a heartbeat she could feel through her fingers. And then she realized, the creature wasn't just reacting, it was trying to communicate something. A warning. Her gaze lifted toward the cavern entrance. In the distance, atop the jagged cliffs, a massive shadow moved. It was enormous, wings stretching wider than the cavern, and its glowing eyes were fixed directly on them. Not a predator, something older, intelligent, and far more dangerous than the small hatchling or the creatures they had just evaded. The hatchling stiffened, letting out a sharp trill. Leora's stomach dropped. Whatever that shadow belonged to, it knew they were here, and it was coming closer. She pressed the creature tighter to her chest. Her small voice trembled, but her tone was firm. "We'll face it. Together." The ground rumbled underfoot, dust falling from the cavern ceiling. The predators at the cavern mouth screeched, and the hatchling flared its glow like a signal. Leora's pulse raced, her mind spinning. She had kept them alive this far, but the real test was only beginning. And from the shadows above, the massive shape waited, wings stretching, claws poised, and eyes that seemed to understand. The massive shadow dropped silently from the sky, wings beating with the sound of rolling thunder. Dust and pebbles rained down as it landed, its talons sinking into the stone. Leora's heart hammered, and the hatchling pressed closer, glowing brighter in alarm. The shadow's amber eyes glowed with intelligence, scanning them as if it could read every thought. The predators from the cavern mouth hissed and retreated, sensing the presence of something far older, far more dangerous. Leora took a shaky breath, gripping the hatchling tight. She had survived the cliffs, outrun the predators, but this was different. This creature was not just hunting, they were being observed. "Judge." Then it spoke. Not in words, but in a deep, resonant sound that vibrated through the rock in her bones. A series of clicks, trills, and low roars, strangely melodic, filled the air. The hatchling responded immediately, tilting its head, emitting matching sounds, its glow pulsing like a heartbeat. Leora blinked in shock. Was it communicating with her hatchling? Instinct took over. She pressed the hatchling closer to her face and whispered softly, "We're friends. We mean no harm." The hatchling chirped sharply, flaring its glow. The massive dragon's eyes narrowed. It took a cautious step forward, and Leora felt the ground tremble beneath her tiny feet. Something inside her clicked. She realized that the hatchling's strange behavior, its glow, its trills, its sudden bursts of sparks, wasn't random. It was a language, a code. The predators, the creatures, and now this enormous dragon, they were all part of a system, a network, an intelligence far beyond what she had imagined. Her small mind raced. If she could understand the hatchling, maybe she could communicate. Maybe she could survive. With careful movements, she held her hand out slowly, palm open, letting the hatchling's body press against it. Sparks flickered along its scales as it pulsed. She whispered again, "We trust you. Help us." The giant dragon hesitated. Then it lowered its massive head closer to them. Its nostrils flared, and a wave of heat rolled over her. She could feel the intelligence in its gaze, the depth of its awareness. The hatchling chirped again, louder this time, and nudged her hand. Leora's stomach twisted with fear, but also a strange hope. Somehow, this terrifying adult dragon recognized the hatchling's bond with her. A rumble shook the cliffs. Dust fell from above, and Leora's eyes widened. High on the rocks, she saw movement, an entire colony of dragons. But these weren't aggressive. They hovered, watched, and occasionally clicked or hissed to one another. Leora's mind raced. This wasn't just survival. She had stumbled into something ancient, a species that had lived alongside humans once, maybe even revered them. The hatchling squirmed in her arms, chirping urgently. Its glow flared wildly, pulsing in a pattern she had never seen before. Then Leora noticed something strange. On the cavern wall behind her, faint carvings etched into the stone. They were images of dragons with humans, small figures guiding enormous creatures, protecting them, nurturing them. The murals showed humans standing tall, fearless, unarmed, yet commanding respect. Leora gasped. The hatchling wasn't just a creature. It was the last of a species genetically attuned to humans. They recognized courage, compassion, and intelligence. And somehow it had chosen her. The massive dragon leaned closer, its nostrils brushing the hatchling's head. Sparks flew from the hatchling, and the adult's eyes widened, almost in recognition. Leora's pulse raced. She realized this was a test, a measure of her character, her heart, and her bravery. The predators, the cliffs, the crevice, they had led her here. Her gaze swept the cavern. The predators had not returned. They seemed to respect the adult dragon's authority. Leora whispered again, her voice steady despite the fear, "We only want to survive. We will protect each other." The hatchling responded with a trill and a pulse of light that washed over her arms. A small, victorious warmth surged through her chest. She had made contact. She had been acknowledged. But then a shock came from above. A loud crash reverberated through the cavern. Rocks fell and the shadows shifted. One of the massive dragons from the colony stepped forward, wings unfurling. It was larger than the first, its scales a darker, almost black blue, with glinting eyes that seemed to pierce through Leora. The hatchling hissed and pressed tighter into her chest. Leora's small hands shook, but she held it close. The first dragon stepped forward, almost protectively, between her and the newcomer. Sparks shot from the hatchling in response, its glow intensifying, lighting up the entire cavern in flashes. Leora realized the hatchling's ability to flare was not just a defense, it was a signal. She was witnessing a conversation, a negotiation between dragons, and she was part of it. A sudden, unexpected sound cut through the air, a clicking trill, faster, sharper. The larger dragon lunged slightly, wings flexing, but paused mid-motion. The first dragon's gaze locked on it and a standoff began. Leora's pulse raced. The hatchling glowed brighter, chirping frantically, and she felt it shiver in her arms. Something was about to happen, something big. She had no weapons, no allies, and no escape plan. But she had courage, empathy, and quick thinking. And she had the hatchling. That tiny bond, fragile but real, was their only lifeline. The cavern shook with the sound of wings. Dust and stones tumbled from the ceiling as the two dragons faced each other, the larger one circling slowly above while the smaller hatchling hissed and flared its glow in frantic pulses. Leora's heart pounded in her chest. She hugged the hatchling tighter, feeling its tiny claws dig into her arms, its body trembling. They were trapped. There was no escape, no way to outrun these giants. Only one option remained: courage. She swallowed hard and forced herself to step forward. "Stop!" she shouted, her voice small but steady. The words echoed off the walls. The larger dragon froze mid-wing beat, eyes narrowing, nostrils flaring. Leora's pulse raced. She had no idea if it understood her, but she had to try. The hatchling chirped, a high-pitched trill, and flared its glow again. Sparks danced along its scales, illuminating the cavern in bursts of blue-green light. Leora noticed something. The adult dragon's pupils were reacting to the hatchling's glow, dilating and contracting in rhythm. It was listening. It was watching. And it was judging her. I'm not afraid," Leora said, her voice gaining strength. "We only want to survive. We'll protect each other and we'll do no harm." The words came out faster now, urgent, desperate, but clear. The hatchling pressed closer, its glow pulsing in response. Leora felt a strange confidence rise. If this creature sensed her courage, maybe it would listen. The larger dragon tilted its massive head, wings folding slightly, but its claws scraped dangerously along the stone floor. Leora's stomach churned. She could feel the power radiating off it, heat, strength, and intelligence beyond anything she had ever imagined. One wrong move and the cavern would collapse and she and the hatchling would be crushed. Then a thought struck her. The hatchling's glow had already distracted the predators once. Maybe it could do more. Slowly, carefully, she extended one hand, letting the hatchling nuzzle it. The creature's glow pulsed wildly, then shot out in a blinding flare. Leora pressed herself against it, channeling her own courage into the moment. The larger dragon flinched, wings folding back instinctively, and a low, vibrating rumble echoed through the cavern. Leora realized it wasn't just reacting, it was communicating, questioning, testing. Her mind raced. If she could mimic the hatchling's rhythm, mirror its energy, maybe she could reach it. She closed her eyes, focused on the glowing pulses, and whispered, "We're together. We trust each other. Please trust us too." The hatchling responded instantly, its glow synchronizing with her heartbeat. Sparks shot across the cavern, painting the walls with shifting patterns. Leora opened her eyes. The larger dragon hesitated, leaning closer, sniffing, scanning every inch of her and the hatchling. She held her ground, hands steady, arms locked around the tiny creature. Then came the moment of decision. The larger dragon roared, wings beating the air, raising a windstorm that knocked loose rocks and dust into her face. Leora staggered but did not release the hatchling. She knew she had to act, now or never. Summoning every ounce of courage, she spoke again, louder, more commanding, "We are not your enemies. We can help. We can protect each other." Her small voice carried through the cavern, trembling but firm. The hatchling chirped, soaring pulse after pulse of glowing energy, and Leora felt it. Something shifted. The air seemed to hum with recognition. The massive dragon's eyes softened just slightly, its stance relaxing. But the tension was far from over. A rumble echoed through the cavern, louder than before. From the shadows above, another figure moved. A second massive dragon, larger than the first, with scales blacker than midnight. Its wings spread, casting the cavern into momentary darkness. The hatchling's glow flared to maximum brightness, sizzling sparks into the air. Leora pressed it tighter, feeling its tiny heartbeat sync with hers. No hesitation remained. She sprinted toward a jagged ledge, carrying the hatchling in one arm, and raised her other hand high, using the creature's glow to signal calm, trust, and courage. The first dragon flinched at the movement but held its ground. The second, larger dragon froze mid-motion, watching. Leora realized, with a mixture of fear and exhilaration, that she had captured their attention. She had become the center of their focus, the pivot of their judgment. The hatchling chirped again, pulsing in rapid succession. Leora mirrored it with her own voice, speaking in rhythms she didn't understand but felt instinctively. The first dragon lowered its head closer, sniffing the hatchling and then her hands. Sparks danced across their scales, illuminating the cavern walls. The second dragon hesitated, wings folding slightly, eyes glinting with intelligence. Then, astonishingly, the first dragon stepped fully back, wings folding completely, and nudged the hatchling gently with its snout. The hatchling chirped and glowed softly, nuzzling Leora in response. The second dragon let out a low rumble and retreated slightly into the shadows. The immediate danger passed, but the lesson was clear. The dragons were testing them and Leora had passed. Exhausted, Leora sank to her knees, holding the hatchling against her chest. Its glow faded to a gentle shimmer, and she felt the tiny creature relax. She had survived, and more than that, she had forged a bond strong enough to command the respect of two massive, intelligent dragons. The cavern was quiet now, save for the soft hum of wings and distant roars. But the calm was fragile. From above, the shadows shifted again, and Leora noticed something she hadn't seen before, tiny glowing eyes peering from the cliffs. The dragons weren't alone. There was an entire colony watching, waiting, assessing. And somewhere in that colony, something far older, far wiser than these two dragons, observed them both. Leora's small hands clenched the hatchling tighter. Her voice was soft but firm. "We can do this. Together. Whatever comes next, we'll face it." The hatchling chirped in agreement, and its glow pulsed like a heartbeat of courage and determination. The massive figure descended slowly, wings stretching wider than the cavern itself. Every flap sent gusts of wind that rattled loose rocks and dust into Leora's hair. She hugged the hatchling close, feeling its pulse in her arms. Its glow pulsed faster, almost like it was warning her, but also encouraging her. Together they had survived impossible odds. Together they had earned respect. The enormous dragon landed with a thud that shook the stone beneath their feet. Its scales shimmered with iridescent colors, black, blue, and gold, reflecting the hatchling's own glow. Its amber eyes studied Leora intently, intelligent and penetrating, scanning every movement, every heartbeat. For a moment, time froze. Even the smaller dragon remained still, its glow steadying as if holding its breath along with her. Leora swallowed hard. She had no words that this creature could understand, no way to explain who she was. But she had courage, empathy, and instinct. Slowly she stood upright, her small frame trembling but determined. "I won't hurt you," she whispered, voice firm. "I only want to protect my friend." The hatchling chirped, its glow flickering brightly, and pressed closer to her chest. The massive dragon shifted, wings folding slightly, then let out a low, rolling rumble. Leora realized it was not anger, it was evaluation. Judgment. The entire cavern seemed to hold its breath. She took a deep breath herself, letting the tremor in her legs steady. She reached out one hand slowly, palm open, showing trust. Sparks danced along the hatchling's scales, reacting to the gesture. A soft trill echoed from the hatchling, and the massive dragon's head dipped closer. Its amber eyes blinked slowly, almost thoughtfully. Then, with a movement so sudden it made Leora flinch, it nudged the hatchling gently, testing it. The hatchling chirped back, flaring its glow. Leora's heart soared. This was recognition. Approval. They had passed the ultimate test. The adult dragon's gaze shifted toward the shadows of the cavern walls, toward the colony hidden in the cliffs. Its wings flexed, casting wide shadows over the ledges. Leora could see dozens of glowing eyes blink back at them. They were watching, learning, evaluating, but no one advanced. For now, the dragons accepted her presence. She had survived. She had proven that even a 6-year-old human could command respect through courage and empathy. A warmth spread through Leora's chest. Her small hands rested on the hatchling's scales, feeling the energy pulsate. "We're safe," she whispered. The hatchling chirped, almost laughing as if it understood every word. The glow softened, pulsing gently like a heartbeat, synchronized with hers. It pressed closer, tiny claws resting against her arm, trusting her completely. But survival alone was not the victory. Leora looked around the cavern, seeing the murals on the walls, the ancient carvings of humans standing tall among dragons, protecting them, guiding them. She realized the bond she shared with the hatchling was not random. Humans had always mattered to these creatures, even when the world had forgotten. And somehow she was part of that story now. Her gaze lifted to the massive dragon again. It tilted its head, nostrils flaring, then slowly backed away. Its eyes lingered on her and the hatchling, communicating something she couldn't yet understand. A silent promise, perhaps. A warning. A recognition of bravery and heart. She felt a connection, fragile but real. Leora exhaled slowly, letting herself relax for the first time since the crash. The immediate danger was gone. The predators from the cliffs had vanished. The massive dragons had acknowledged her courage. And the hatchling, tiny yet fierce, had chosen her completely. She was its protector, and in return, it had become hers. The cavern was quiet now, save for the soft hum of the hatchling's glow and the distant rustle of wings from the colony. Leora pressed the hatchling tighter, whispering again, "We did it. Together." Sparks flickered across the creature's scales in a soft, rhythmic pulse. A small smile formed on her lips. For a 6-year-old stranded on an alien world, it felt like victory. But as she looked toward the entrance of the cavern, shadows shifted again. Far above, beyond the cliffs, she glimpsed the faint glint of scales in the sunlight. The larger, older dragon, the one she hadn't fully seen yet, was perched silently, watching. Its gaze was steady, intelligent, and calculating. Leora felt a thrill of fear mixed with curiosity. It knew her. It had seen her courage. And it was waiting. The hatchling stirred in her arms, glowing brighter for a moment as if sensing the same truth. Leora's small hands clenched around it, her mind already spinning with questions. What did this older dragon want? Why was it watching? Were there others like it? Her chest tightened, not with fear but with anticipation. There were more mysteries ahead, more challenges she would face, and somehow she knew she was ready. She lifted the hatchling gently toward her face, looking into its glowing amber eyes. "We'll be okay," she whispered. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it. Together." The hatchling chirped in response, a sound full of trust and determination. Its glow pulsed, almost like a heartbeat echoing hers, strong and steady. The colony in the cliffs shifted, wings flexing, shadows moving. The massive dragon atop the highest ledge gave a low rumble, almost a greeting, or perhaps a summons. Leora's pulse quickened. She had survived the predators, the cliffs, the tests of courage. But the world of these dragons was far larger than she had imagined. And she was only beginning to understand her role in it. With one final glance at the glowing hatchling, Leora whispered, "We're ready." The hatchling chirped, glowing brighter than ever. Somewhere in the cliffs above, the massive ancient dragon shifted, wings stretching wide, signaling that the next chapter of their adventure was only just beginning. And though the cavern seemed calm, Leora knew it wouldn't be long before new challenges, new mysteries, and new tests of courage emerged. But for now she was alive. She had protected the hatchling. She had earned the respect of creatures far older and wiser than herself. And she had discovered the first spark of something extraordinary, the bond between humans and dragons, a bond that could change everything.